Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today is Tuesday. I didn't film too much yesterday. It was all in the shade while I really should have filmed the end of it. I just didn't have the camera on me, so I didn't do a whole pile of filming. And basically what I was doing is it wasn't anything too important, but I had the seat base out of this tractor because with the last 2 years it hasn't really worked. It was rock solid, there wasn't much movement in it. So I took it apart and I had a scrap base there as well, and I was basically able to make 2 bases out of the one. They're a fair expensive thing for as much that's in them. There's not a whole pile to them, so they're very expensive really for what they are. But now this one should be good for the season anyway. Towards the end of the year we might change it. So we got our lights wired up. We had a bit of a problem with our board inside here, our electrical board. One of the fuse holders was burnt because the fuse melted, it didn't blow. So I took the board off and I carried it to a local man, and in fairness to him, he had it back to me the next day. So thank you very much for that, Connor, if you're watching. But he's, in fairness, there's no one to touch him with electrical stuff around here. What I was at this morning then is compounded up the bonnet of this. This was have gone very white. So I just gave the top of the bonnet of the compound and it came up very well. And obviously our lights are now working now, so I'm going to show you a bit of that when I'll just give it a few more minutes there. For the rest of the week we'll be piping slurry, and if we get a bit of time, hopefully I'll be going for the butterfly mowers because I want to set them up. There's a guy coming from Pottinger that's going to talk us through the whole lot and set us up with him. So hopefully if I get a bit of time this week, I'll run them home and I'll get it all rigged up on the tractor. Other than that, we'll also be starting the grass seeding. I know it's very early for that, but we have a small bit of reseeding just to, it's kind of a job. Look, to be honest, it's a job that there was a problem with. We've got it tested and we've done stuff like that, and we are fairly sure it was leather jackets. So we'll get that back, we'll seed that one again, and we'll be starting on the ploughing as well if we get a few dry days. So that's all to come this week, hopefully. A very busy couple of days, and we'll get all them jobs ticked off the list, and because I think the weekend coming is poor enough, so try and get all them things done. So I'm going to show you these lights here now. Like I said in the last video, they came from Trailer Spares. I'm going to put a link. I never put a link in the last video. He actually has these lights listed in his website and all, so I'm going to put a link to these lights because I'm very happy with them. The last ones that were on, or sorry, the top row of lights are bulbs. There is 4 of them, so I'll just back up another bit and they'll give you a bit of an insight into what they're like. And we'll open our back window. Right, so these are the bulb lights. So not too bad, fair share of light off them, in fairness. There's 4 of them, so I'm going to knock them off now and knock on our LEDs, which there is a fair difference there, and there's only 2 LEDs, so that's 2 versus 4. Fair difference there, and these have a low, these are only about 35 watts as well, so not too bad on your power. Won't have too much of a draw on them. Funnily enough, it's only, I learned today that your LED lights, everyone thinks they have a lower power rating, but the big LEDs actually have a very big draw off them, and I suspect that's what happened. My fuse holder down there. So anyway, it's fixed now, and dim lights seem a lot better. So I'm going to get ready for the morning. I'm going to stick on the agitator, do a bit of mixing, and we'll get to piping. We're also fixing the roller, that's there in the workshop, and we might show you a bit of that as well. Well, hello everyone, welcome back. As you can see, we're piping a bit of slurry here. It's fairly thick. We're just waiting to get some pig slurry in, and hopefully that'll be on shortly, but basically we're just waiting on the piggery to bring it on. As you can see, we're spreading around the pole here. So I was down in that corner and I came straight up and I'll do this side of the pole now, and then I can start working the other side of it, if that makes sense. Basically I'll be going 90 degrees to the way I'm going now at the minute. Okay, so we're the far side of the pole now, and in theory it should gently pull around that because there isn't too much of it to drag down, so it might even come down without touching the pole. Once it slips over the fitting here, you can see it, if it will even slip over the fitting, you know, fear of it. So I was spreading at a 45-degree angle, but now I'm straightening up and getting myself a bit straighter because there's a gap over there, and I want to go through that gap and into the next field without, you know, having to lay out roll out pipe and straighten and that kind of thing. Should make it a bit easier. But you guys that are used to this kind of thing, that are more used to piping than me, let me know how you would have done around the pole. It'd be interesting to know. I can't imagine we've much piping left to do for the time being. Like, we'll probably be piping in the summer, but you know, once the cows go out and stuff like that, people kind of tend to let the slurry go. And of course it's getting late now too to be applying it. You know, silage ground now and stuff, you wouldn't want to be going much later than this, really. I expect the jewels taken off, but they're easy to put back on. That's kind of the beauty of them. You have them on there in 10-15 minutes. So the tractor was also cleaned as well. No, it wasn't me to clean it, but made a fine job of it in fairness. Very clean now. So it's staying clean as well. This job is turning out fairly clean. No big hiccups so far. So we finished our spreading with the pipes, and today I'm spreading with the splash plate, or sorry, with the tanker, and just with the splash plate on some ground that's going to be ploughed in the next few days. I didn't film with the whole pile of the piping, mainly because just thick slurry is a pain to pipe, and you need to be kind of concentrating on what you're doing, and the phobia of bursting pipes because you're pumping quite hard to get that thick slurry through the pipes, and you could burst your pipes in your first couple of 100 meters, as I've been very kindly told by a couple of guys who have more experience at it than me. Anyway, the last while we've had a few questions about the CVXs again. It's all on the pedal on the road basically. You're just using the accelerator pedal, and that's controlling your forward speed and your revs. You can adjust how much is rev here and your drop control or cruise control, and basically she won't be revving as hard. She won't be as lively, of course, but she'll plug away there maybe at 1500 revs until she gets up to top speed. And you have cruise control, which you use really well. If you were on a long journey, you could use your cruise control set to 50k. What I use it for is the likes of this now, spreading. I'm a cruise control set to a certain speed, and basically how you change that is these three buttons here kind of do all of that for you. You wouldn't really use them on the road at all, bar, like I say, you wanted to set your cruise control to 50k. If I press the plus now, she will go into cruise control and she'll do the exact speed that I'm travelling at the moment. And once you have your cruise control on, you can use your minus to slow down your cruise control and your plus to speed it up. Also your minus kind of changes your ratio in the gearbox. If you wanted to slowing down, coming down a hill or something like that, you put a bit more load in the engine and a bit more resistance through the box. And that's basically it. They're very, very easy to drive. There's no I know in a Fint you have to change ratios and all that kind of thing. There's none of that. So that's the basics of it. If you want a thorough look through it, it's in some of the very early videos there. I think is there one baling silage with a McHale Fusion 3 or something like that. It's one of the very early videos anyway. You'll see all the workings of it in there. Funnily enough, this is slow enough to die. It's dying well over there, but it's slow enough here. I suspect that's because we have a different breed of grass over there. It's got an awful lot of crow's foot in it over in this section, and maybe that's hard enough to kill off. It's because it's been sprayed now with 2 weeks, so I'd imagine it should really be starting to change colour now, but I think I'll give it another couple of days and we'll start working it in. Maybe just let it dry a bit more, and it'll give that stuff a bit more of a chance to wither away. Now, I suppose spreading slurry on it, some people always do it, other people don't do it at all. I don't know, it's so much of an advantage to it. You're kind of turning it down anyway, so I don't know. Let me know in the comments if it's something you do when you're reseeding. Do you always put out slurry or dung before you go working it down? I suppose one of the biggest problems with that is weeds, and get a lot of weed seeds in slurry, which is a bit of a problem. Shouldn't be too bad when you're ploughing it down, but obviously if there's docks in your silage ground, they end up back in the slurry, and then the slurry goes out, and it's a vicious cycle. It takes a long time to kill those weeds. But other than that, we're fairly busy. We're out spraying today. I'll probably go add more of it later on myself. Funnily enough, this field has been on camera a right few times now. We were mowing here, we were tedding here, we were saw cut. This is the first place we saw cut. We're down the headlands of this, and now we're spreading slurry here, and we'll be ploughing here as well. So won't be short of footage of this field anyway, that's for sure. You can also time all your spool valves on these, but I rarely use that kind of stuff, to be honest. The only time I use the timer really is when I'm ploughing. One press of the valve and it'll swing over the plough and it'll stop. By the time the plough is swung over and the vary width has gone to its preset level, I think it's around 12 seconds it takes to do all that. So just touch a spool and it'll do the rest. But that's the only time I use it, because even so, every time you get out, you have to reset it, and that's just a bit of a pain. But they lock themselves every time you get off the seat. I'm having a bit of trouble with one of the valves in this. It's knocking the EEM offline, so that valve plugged out. That valve is still working, and it doesn't do it when you're using the valve, but if you're driving on the road it could knock out the EEM, and obviously that causes you a bit of problems, so I have it plugged out for the time being. Well, this is, I don't know, was I telling you? Basically our roller was leaking, and the piping that goes through it was split, and that's where the water was coming out, so you could only really half fill it. And even at that, obviously when it was spinning around, it was leaking out of it. So I cut out the old one and I welded in a new bit of piping. The old one is around here somewhere. That's the shaft that goes through the centre, goes through both the barrels, and comes out this side. I had to go into the roller, so I had to make a hole there, but we'll fill that again. This is our shaft, or sorry, our piping. I'll just see now where it's split, so you'll be able to see what goes on there. Just split along here, so all the water was starting to leak out through that. So we've a new one welded in. It must be done to the other barrel. I'll do that there this evening and get that over and done with, because we'll want it over the weekend, and it's just a pain trying to get the loan of them and stuff like that, and usually there's stuff that's kind of forgotten about, they're thrown in the corner, and when you go to get it then there's always a bit of a problem. So I'll get this right and have it ready to go. Okay, so I've the piping cut out now. It's cut at both sides. Obviously I can't fit through because there's a lip now and it's cut at a slight angle, but I'll just show you the other side. As you can see, that's flush up against that, or even gone in a small bit. So what I'll do is I'll cut it off at the other end. I'll just cut in along here, and once I get inside it I'll be able to go like that, and I'll be able to pop it out the other side. That's all in theory, but it should work. and shouldn't be a problem. I will give it a go there now and we'll see how we get on. So with that cut out, I'll just do a quick ring around it here now internally, and it'll fall out fairly easy out the other side. Well, we're on our way home there now. We were just out spraying. I've another 25 acres burnt off there, so enough to keep it going when it's ready to do. Hopefully, look, this weekend we'll get out with the plough and we'll get a start main. It'd be nice to just be knocking the pressure off. I've said it a couple of times before. I always try and be ahead of myself, besides behind myself, and keep going and keep moving the whole time. And it avoids you being under chronic pressure then, or at least that's the theory anyway. These 6290s are I don't know whether they're all like this, but they're a fair bouncy yoke on the road. This one's grand when you have the loader on it, but when you don't have the loader on, it's very, very bouncy. The loader is soft ride, so that's a big help, but I'd say if you're one with front suspension, that would be a massive help. They have the same front axle as the CVXs and the TVT, so something will be kind of used to anyway. So yeah, if you have anyone has a 62 series Maxi, let me know what it's like on the road, whether it's bouncy or not. Anyone I've spoke to tells me that they're very, very bouncy anyway, but that's kind of it with them. I suppose they're a bit shocked, so that's what makes them so bouncy. But other than that, in fairness, they're a very good tractor, very gutsy as well. You would have bought them reasonable enough too, but their value seems to be going up and up and up the whole time. Like a lot of tractors from this area, TMs and 10 series John Deeres and that kind of stuff, are all nearly making as much as they did when they were new. So if you bought one of them maybe a couple of years old, it'll be some investment now, because it would be worth more than what you paid for it. I often look back at old classic tractor magazines and stuff like that, and you see from the early 2000s, maybe 2007 or 8, earlier 2003 and 4, you'd see 8340s and 8360s and stuff like that. They're still making the same money now as they were 20 years ago nearly, and that's a fair achievement. That just shows the reliability and how much people like them, and how inaccessible the new stuff has become for a lot of people. The price of some of that stuff is just eye-watering, and it's a bit too complex for, I suppose, your ordinary folk to just want to do ordinary work with them. While I love my CVXs and my Vario boxes and all the Faldels to go with all of that kind of stuff, there's definitely always a place for a simple tractor in everyone's fleet, or just a farmer that wants to do basic tasks. There's always a place for a simple tractor, and to be honest, simple tractors have gone hard to get now, so that's why these things have gone so valuable. So I suppose that's my wrap up for the week. Like I said, tomorrow and through the weekend we'll probably be doing a bit of tilling and ploughing and all that kind of stuff, so I'd save that. I know if tomorrow's a fine day, a lot of you probably aren't going to be watching YouTube, so we might wait until the evening to publish it, and there's no point putting it up during the day if there's nobody online. So yeah, that's it from me from this week. Give me a bit of feedback, give the videos a thumbs up, and let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.